In a world where scientists, the supposed experts, get things hilariously wrong, we are about to dig into the wildest fossil mix-ups and prehistoric blunders that'll surprise you, from sea monsters mounted backwards to feathered dinosaurs mistaken for giant turtles. These 11 cases of scientific slip-ups will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about ancient creatures. Let's kick things off with the Elasmosaurus, a marine reptile that caused quite a stir in the scientific community. Back in 1868, paleontologist Edward Drinker Cope made a colossal mistake. He assembled the skeleton of this long-necked beast with its head on the wrong end. Imagine a snake-like creature with its skull stuck on its tail. That is exactly what Cope presented to the world. It took years for his rival, Othniel Charles Marsh, to point out the embarrassing error. Talk about a head-scratching moment in paleontology. Next up, we have the Helicoprion, a prehistoric shark that baffled scientists for decades. When its fossils were first discovered, all they had to work with was a bizarre, circular saw-like structure. Experts scratched their heads, trying to figure out where this strange appendage belonged. Some thought it was a fin, others a defensive tail weapon. It wasn't until 2013 that researchers finally cracked the code. The saw was actually a set of teeth in the lower jaw, forming a deadly spiral. This ancient shark was basically swimming around with a buzzsaw in its mouth. Now, let's talk about the Therizinosaurus, a dinosaur that went from looking like a turtle to resembling a giant chicken. When its massive claws were first unearthed in the 1940s, paleontologists thought they belonged to a turtle-like creature. It took decades of additional discoveries to reveal the truth. Therizinosaurus was actually a feathered theropod with a pot belly and those enormous Edward Scissorhands-like claws. Talk about a makeover. Moving on to the Basilosaurus, an ancient whale that fooled everyone into thinking it was a sea serpent. When its fossils were discovered in the 1830s, scientists were convinced they had found the remains of a massive reptile. They even named it King Lizard. It wasn't until years later that they realized their mistake. Basilosaurus was actually a primitive whale, not a reptile at all. Imagine the shock when they found out this sea monster was more closely related to cows than to lizards. Remember the Brontosaurus? Of course you do, it's one of the most famous dinosaurs ever. But here's the kicker. For over a century, it didn't actually exist. In 1903, paleontologists declared that Brontosaurus was just a misidentified Apatosaurus. The scientific community wrote it off as a mistake, and Brontosaurus became the dinosaur that never was. But wait, there's a plot twist. In 2015, a new study brought Brontosaurus back from extinction, proving it was a distinct genus after all. Talk about a comeback story. Let's not forget about Coelophysis, a small dinosaur that got a seriously bad rap. For years, scientists believed these creatures were cannibals, based on fossils that appeared to show baby Coelophysis bones in the stomachs of adults. This grisly image persisted for decades until new technology revealed the truth. Those baby bones were actually from other small reptiles. Poor Coelophysis had been wrongly accused of eating its own kind for over 50 years. Now, prepare to have your mind blown by Tanystropheus, a creature so bizarre that scientists couldn't agree on whether it lived on land or in the sea. This Triassic reptile had a neck longer than its body and tail combined, leading to wild speculations about its lifestyle. Some thought it was a shore-dwelling reptile that used its neck like a fishing rod. Others argued it was fully aquatic. It took until 2020 for researchers to settle the debate. Tanystropheus was a sea-dwelling hunter with a snorkel-like nose. Who would have thought? Let's take a trip down under to meet Thylacoleo, the marsupial lion that wasn't actually a lion at all. When its fossils were first discovered in the 19th century, scientists thought they had found a meat-eating marsupial similar to modern big cats. They even gave it terrifying reconstructions with saber teeth. But as more evidence came to light, the truth emerged. Thylacoleo was more like a giant possum with bone-crushing jaws. Not quite the fearsome predator they initially imagined. Macrauchenia is next on our list of prehistoric puzzlers. This South American mammal left paleontologists scratching their heads for over 180 years. Its bizarre combination of features, a camel-like body, a long neck, and a short trunk, made it impossible to classify. Scientists tossed it from one family tree to another, unable to pinpoint its true relatives. It wasn't until 2017 that DNA analysis finally revealed the truth: Macrauchenia was related to horses, rhinos, and tapirs. Sometimes it takes cutting-edge technology to solve ancient mysteries. Ever heard of Gigantopithecus? This massive ape was once thought to be the missing link between humans and our primate ancestors. Standing up to 10 feet tall, it captured the imagination of scientists and cryptozoologists alike. Some even speculated it could be the legendary Bigfoot. But as more fossils were studied, the truth came out: Gigantopithecus was actually more closely related to orangutans than to humans. So much for finding the real-life King Kong. Last but not least, let's talk about our cousins, the Neanderthals. For years, these ancient humans were portrayed as brutish, unintelligent cavemen, a stereotype that persisted in popular culture for decades. But recent discoveries have completely flipped this image on its head. We now know that Neanderthals were sophisticated beings who created art, used complex tools, and even interbred with our own ancestors. It just goes to show that sometimes our closest relatives can be the most misunderstood. And there you have it, 11 mind-blowing cases of prehistoric creatures that scientists got completely wrong. From backwards-facing heads to non-existent species brought back to life, these blunders remind us that science is a constantly evolving process. Even the experts can make mistakes, but that's what makes new discoveries so exciting. The next time you visit a natural history museum, remember that prehistoric beast you are looking at might just be the next creature to get a total makeover.